morning. My name's Marilyn Allis and I'm going to show you how easy it is to paint a figure. Now you probably don't believe me, but if you can take a little bit of time with the drawing, then the painting comes together really easily. Now I love this musician. I think he's got a lot of character, and I'm going to start off with a pearl wash of blue on his coat. Now I'm only doing that because although we know that that's in sunshine, because I'm not going to put anything into the background, I need it to show up. So it's having a little tint there, and then down the arm it just gets a little bit darker, so just add a little bit more pigment, blend that in. And the very darks can go in much later. That's the same that side too. So we're thinking lights at the moment. I'm going to do the same for his trousers. I'm going to use a raw sienna, just a very pale wash. Touch that. If that runs, that's even better because that also gives him some action. Keep this very, very pale. Same for that leg. I can use a little bit of that colour on the instrument. Right, now some good skin tone colours. I'm going to use a very light red, watered down. There's again the lights hitting it that side, perhaps a little bit darker than that. We need it to show up. Just using a size 16 brush, and I'm using my Marilyn Allis block. It's gummed around the edges, so I don't need to stretch that. Now I'm going in with a little bit more light red and a touch of sepia just to darken it, thicker paint, and we're just painting that side because that's in shadow because of his hat. That might run a little bit, but I won't worry too much about that. Let's do the shadow in this hand. This one is in a lot of shadow. Take off some of the paint with water, and that's just paler. So carry on doing all the lighter shapes. A little bit of alizarin crimson for his hat. It's in a lot of shadow that side. And a little bit of green by mixing Prussian blue and lemon yellow together, just in there, and there's a bit of shadow there. So really at this stage we've got most of the really light parts in, and I'll let those dry, and then we'll go in with some very definite darks and it will be transformed, I promise you. For the darker shapes on his jacket, I'm going to use some thicker cobalt blue, so the same colour we used in the initial wash, and I'm going to add to that a little bit of light red. And it's got a lot of pigment, but it's not got very much water. Okay, so just do a little bit of squinting. And all those dark shapes. I just love it when you start to put the dark shapes in. Start to see his arm sort of appearing from out of that shape. It's all in shadow and a bit of shadow there. Then we've got a very dark shadow on the inside, and then some of these bits. And then along the bottom. So I'm just looking at the shapes the best I can. That's quite a lot darker under that arm. Let's just put dark shape in there. I can add even darker bits of it later, and I think I'll darken that too. Arm's quite dark. Right, for his trousers, we did that in the raw sienna, so I'm going to use a sepia for the dark shapes, just on its own, quite thick. And again, same principle, look for those dark shapes. Well, because that's quite dark, what I'm going to do is to leave a little white gap at the top in a minute. That one gets slightly lighter as it comes down, so just add a little bit more water. It's a bit more light, I think, on that. And then it gets very dark again at the bottom, so back to the thicker paint. And then I'll start that from there. And then I'm just going to leave a little bit of a gap there so that we know that's his legs. Squinting all the time. I love these crinkly clothes. So much more interesting than tight trousers. The same thing on the hat. Let's use a darker, thicker green for the rest of the shadow. It's darker over that bit, and then that's dark that side. And then the red is a little bit darker too. So just thicker paint, always thicker paint to make it darker, more water to make it lighter. Right, and now some of the dark shapes on the instrument. Let's go for the sepia again. A little bit of squinting. You see some dark around here. And start. You don't have to get every single bit in place if you can't see a lot of what's going on, because these dark shapes, just a few of them, will help make sense of it all. A little bit more shadow just there, and I think we'll give him some hair. I'll just soften that shadow out a little bit. And the hair can come down to there. So already he's really taking shape. Now, just wondering what colour t-shirt to give him. I think I'll give him a dark t-shirt. I'm not going to put stripes on because I think that'll make it a bit messy. So what I'm going to go for is a Prussian blue with a little bit of sepia in it, which will give me a nice dark. And that t-shirt sort of starts there, comes down. We're going to make it all one colour. And the light's sort of hitting it a little bit on his belly, so we can take out some of the paint and just make that a little bit lighter. And his shoes are sort of the same colour too, so where the light's hitting them, keep that quite light. And just take out the surplus water, and then with a thicker mix, so just blobs of light and dark shapes. Just put a little blob of colour on for the sheet music. I'll mix some of that blue up that I've already got there. A little bit of light's hitting at that side, but a lot of it's in shadow. If I can just sit on there for a moment. Now I'm going to squint, and if there's any really dark shapes, I'm going to put those in with the sepia and the Prussian blue. So just really squint hard, and I can see some that are standing out more. Those shapes can come in there. Just lots and lots of squinting. And a darker shape that just runs through there. Right, I'm sort of happy with that. I think I need a little bit of darker shade on that hand there. That bled out a little bit too much. And that needs to be darker underneath. So we just darken that. And then finally, using a card, actually before we do the finally bit, let's put a shadow in and anchor them down. So I'm going to go for that blue that I used earlier. And the sun's coming from behind, so that means that his shadow, it's very confusing on the photograph, there's so much else going on. So the shadow's coming that way, that anchors him down, and I have a little bit of shadow there from the person who's standing next to him, but not as much is on there. A very easy way of getting straight lines is to use a card. I've got this from the ship. And then with one of our dark colours, again, I'm just going to use the Prussian blue and the sepia. And all you do is you rub the paint along the edge of the card, the thick paint, and we do need to keep loading this. And then just run that up the bumps on the paper, and you'll get a lovely dry, broken edge. I'll use the smaller end for here, and for that top bit. And then maybe just load half of it for those diagonals. Doesn't matter if it doesn't all come out, that can go that way. And then, oh my goodness, there's so much going on down here. That goes to there. I think we might need a magic sponge for that last bit. Okay, so just you can see one little bit that I've missed. Just load that again. It's a little bit thicker so we can scrape it along. And load again. That dried up very quickly. And I'm just going to scrape that along the edge. Now let's see if we can just get out that blob. First of all, I'm going to use a little bit of tissue paper. Some blobs I'll leave, but I think that's a big blob. Just dab out as much of the pigment as I can. And then with some clear water, I'm just going to sort of tickle it with a clean brush. And although that's a Prussian blue mix, I think that's got most of it out. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this short tutorial, and if you did, would you hit my subscribe button to my YouTube channel? Then you'll be updated on all the new tuitions that are coming out. Thank you. Bye.